Walk, Jamie Bacon's Secret Mission on the Camino de Santiago. And it's an adventure story, which is for young adults. You published it in 2020. It's a fabulous little book. And I just thought I'd read out a couple of the acknowledgements on the front page inside. And the first one's from a guy called Adam Wells. You might know him. And he says, Walk is a captivating adventure story involving history, legends, loss, serendipity, and surprise. I was swept away with the excitement of Jamie's quest across Spain, a book for young and old alike that brings alive the uniqueness of the unforgettable Camino de Santiago experience. I absolutely loved it. And then the next one on the list is from another guy you may have heard of, and it's Professor George Grenier. And George says, Walk is a terrific read, masterful in tone and texture with a fine narrative arc. Esther Jantzen's level of good humor and care with detail is admirable, and the storyline creates an entirely plausible account of one modern American family's trek on the Camino. It's a joyful book that I hope reaches a wide audience. And the final individual is the late John Riley. Walk was beautifully and sensitively written and richly deserves to be read and enjoyed by many. And I found it to be an absolutely enthralling, enchanting read, as you heard, and I think many others. So if you haven't read it yet, this is my plug for Esther. Go out and get Walk. So Esther, in the last page of the book, you say, often Camino de Santiago pilgrims who receive great value from their walking experiences, as I did, want to serve or give back in some way. This book is my offering back to the Camino. I don't know if you remember saying that or writing that. It's on the back page of the book. You first walked the Camino in 2008. So I'd like to ask you, firstly, is what was the value you got from that Camino experience? And then when did the idea of writing Walk as a give back sort of come to you?
I have the experience, which probably most of us have, that we live forward and we understand backwards in terms of our life. And I have to say that I am still unpacking what I got from that Camino. But I'll tell you the heart of it, which was I realized deep within myself that I wanted to redirect a whole lot of stuff in my life. I wanted far more freedom. I did not want to have financial obligations of the sort that weight people down, like owning a home. I did not want to try to create a business. I did not want anymore to be spending my time in less than expansive ways. So what came forward for me, not immediately, not in 2008, it took a little while to get there, but what I realized is that I wanted to give up my home. I wanted to give up the work I had a little publishing business. I wanted to give that up. And I wanted to find ways to both expand my view of what America was like, and I wanted to have the freedom to move around as I saw fit. And the thing that I undertook at that point, and again, it wasn't obvious to me when I started doing this, but looking back now, I see that what I decided to do was to go into full-time house sitting in places that interested me. And I did that for 8 years up until the pandemic, which slowed us all down and put us all into a secure place for a couple of years. But that's what I did. And I found it so, sometimes it was a little frightening, but mostly I found it so expansive and a very joyous experience for me. So the impact was I changed my lifestyle. I changed what I was emphasizing in my life. And I began in those years, as you already noted, I worked on writing my book.
Sounds like a continuation in many ways of the pilgrim journey.
It really was. I tell you, not needing much, not needing to carry much, not needing to have much in order to just explore a place or to live simply, that just became a real priority in my life.
When did you get this idea about writing walk, you know, the give back aspect? Was it on Camino?
You know what?
Or was it or don't you remember?
Absolutely. It was like I think it was day 3, actually, walking from Roncesvalles towards Zubiri. And I was walking with the woman I went with, and we also ran into 2 more Americans. And it suddenly, and it was, you know, just wonderful at that time to be able to speak English to somebody. And I said to one of the other women who had grandchildren like I do, I said, do you think we should write a book about this experience? This is so thrilling. I was so happy already by day 3 that I said, we need to find a way to convey this to kids. And she said, oh, yeah. Long story short, we did not collaborate on a book. But from that point on, in terms of like what I took photographs of, to some extent, the people I talked to were things that I noted to possibly integrate into a book, especially the photographs. Now, of course, I didn't use them hardly at all because in the book, I only had a number of black and white photos, but they served to remind me of places, of people, of beauty that I wanted to integrate into the book.
So many people will write a book about the Camino, and often it's their own memoirs and that type of self-reflection book, so to speak. You mentioned there it was like immediately on day 3 to write a book for kids. Was that something you'd always wanted to do? Why kids and not your own Camino journey, which had yet unfolded?
Good question. You may or may not know, but I was for like 25 years, I was a high school English teacher in Philadelphia. And in the process of teaching, especially in an urban situation, so much of the material that was available, especially to students who did not read well, so much of that material was not taking them into the bigger world. A lot of it was sports heroes and stuff like that, which it's true. It is what kids may be interested in at that time, but it's not a material that allows them to see the bigger world or to develop a longing for an adventure beyond consumerism. And I thought, you know, in this experience of walking the Camino, I got to know about Spain, about all kinds of legends I'd never even known. I put some pieces together in terms of where like the Catholic influence came into Protestantism, because I grew up as a Protestant and all that. And I thought, like, this is so rich. It needs to be communicated to kids because literature forms lives. I've become really convinced that many of us, and I know I certainly have made choices in our adult life based on vicarious experiences that we had in reading books, children's literature. And I think that one of the great unsung ways in which one can change the world is by writing for kids or reaching kids, even in you know, television shows. They do that too. It expands our vision of what's possible and what we might want to be. Does that answer your question?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, this speaks
Okay.
to the passing on that wisdom to the next generation, and what better way than through a book, and what a great way through the Camino. So how well prepared were you? I know you're an English literature teacher, so how well prepared were you for writing a book for kids?
Very, very unprepared, you know.
Oh, really? Tell us some of the
I'll tell you one story.
experience.
You know, I started this in 2008, you know, making notes and taking photos and so on. And I thought, like, how hard could it be to write a children's book? And I was sort of thinking of a picture book first, and then beyond that. And I thought it would be no big deal, you know, just sit down and, but because I was a high school teacher, I had a certain contempt, and any of you who are in the education field or have been in the education field, I had a certain contempt for elementary teaching. right? You know that the hierarchy is the college teacher, and then the high school teacher, and then the elementary teacher. And I knew almost nothing about real children's literature. So I said, well, how will I find out? And I undertook a project, which is probably the best reading project I've ever done. I got the list of the Newbery Award books, and the Newbery's been offered in America since 1922. Okay, so they get one book is the Newbery, and then there's often 3, 4, 5 honor books. And I got that list and I started reading it, and I was blown away by the excitement of this really fine writing that librarians and teachers had honored as the best writing for kids. So I spent quite a bit of time reading those books as I was running around the country as a house sitter. And anyway, so around 2008, then around 2012, 13, I'd written a draft. I thought, oh, this is ready to go out. It's great and all that. And then I had dinner with a friend who was actually a writer herself, and she was a screenwriter for movies. And she said, tell me about your story. So I go, this happens, the character does this, and then he goes here, and then he goes here, and then he goes here, and I went through that. And at the end of the dinner, she said to me, Esther, you're not going to like what I have to say, but you don't even have a plot. And I was so angry. What do you mean I don't have a plot? I just told you what happened, And she says, Esther, you've got a travelogue, but you don't have a plot. You don't have suspense. You don't have pulling the reader towards some goal, having the character changed, evolve. That's all part of the plot. And I was so discouraged. I didn't know what I was going to do. But then, because we know that one of the virtues and the values of the Camino is perseverance and regrouping and redirecting if you get lost, whatever, I said, okay, I'm going to figure out how to write a book with a plot. I mean, this is coming from an English teacher who knows what a plot is, but couldn't apply it in my own work. So I got a book called The Anatomy of Story. And it was just like one of these step-by-step books, which I always disregard and I don't do the steps. Well, this time I sat down and I did every step that it asked of me. And I ended up with the plot that's in that book, which I think is a pretty darn good plot. And I did not know, for those of you who have read it or haven't read it, right in the very first chapter or two, the character Jamie is given a job that he needs to do in Santiago at the end. He needs to deliver something there. And I came up with that idea of having him carry something, but I didn't know what was in the envelope until like maybe months later when it just came to me, like what would be in the envelope. So to answer your question, Adam, I learned so much about writing in that process, and it has so enriched my life that even now when I see movies, I can see how they've been scripted and how choices were made. And it's like so much fun now, both to read and to watch entertainment.
Yeah, no, thanks, Esther. It speaks really to what we said before, like the hero's journey, isn't it? That writing archetype, and you experienced the death and rebirth by the sounds with that story, that moment where it was you had to throw it all out and begin again.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, but it was easy for you to give up then. Could have given up and thought, I'm not going to start again. Do you think there's something deeper within you? Was it something that's more than just a conscious, I'll write a book? Because you could have given up.
Yes, yeah, it is. It goes back to this idea that literature or photos or any art form, any form that's eliciting our own creativity, in which we integrate various parts of our personality and what we've learned. Anything like that is a gift and is valuable. And I've always felt like I had a fairly unique childhood, and I wanted to be able to pass on. I was a grandmother. I wanted to be able to pass on a legacy of the values that I had from my life experiences. So yeah, I could have given up. But actually, you read a good book about writing and you want to write. And so I did have that experience that I wanted to pull this together, And I went back twice, to gather information or to re-inspire myself. I went back in 2011, after, the first one was 2008, then 2011 and 2013. And I did more research. And then after that, so much had been invested. And I was house sitting. So I'd go to a place and what was I going to do? Well, I broke out my computer and started writing because I didn't know anybody at this location. So that was certainly part of it too. And then with the pandemic, okay, here I am sitting in a room. This is time to put the whole thing together and figure out the publishing process and then just do it. So for me, the pandemic was actually a huge blessing because it forced me to sit and get this project done.
And I think there's something that if the project's it's like, I think, walking the Camino when we're not sure what it's all about in the beginning. It feels so much bigger than us. We're just tiny. And maybe this was the same with writing Walk. It's so much bigger than you, but there's a power that seems to pull us to Santiago.
Right.
We've never walked 500 miles before, but there's that power that I'm going to do it, get up every day. And perhaps that's the metaphor for out off the Camino with all our other big challenges, that we just have to keep going. I've heard it said that when you publish a book and the book goes out in the world, it's like a baby, it has a life of its own. So what's been the life of Walk since you published it in 2020? Has it gone in the direction you thought, or surprises or anything like that?
Yes. And I think that probably happens for a lot of us who want to get creative and get it out in the world. First of all, I had to learn about marketing, and I put my nose to the grindstone and ended up with no nose. I'm sorry. No. I tried to do all the things that they tell you to do to market a book. It's really a tough thing unless that's your natural way of being in the world, which it wasn't and isn't mine. And then I got a number of surprises. I do post on Instagram, but I don't know how to use Instagram. And it was about a year ago this time, a friend of mine was visiting. I'm in Mexico now, actually, which you can probably tell from the blue. Mexican houses have a lot of beautiful color. This friend came over and picked up my phone and went to my Instagram and asked me a little bit about it. And she said, "Did you know you have some messages here?" And I said, "Messages? How do you get messages from him?" Instagram. And she said, "Well, let me show you." And she says, "Here's someone who's written quite a bit to you. It's a woman who says she wants to publish your book." And I mean, it was already published, but to make a really long story short, it was a woman who prepares curriculum for the homeschool community. In other words, somebody puts together these packets of materials that homeschool people can purchase. And she said she'd been looking for, I don't know, years maybe. She'd been looking for a book set in Europe that wasn't about World War II. And she found my book and she said, "This is perfect for the curriculum I'm wanting to create about world geography and ecology." She said, "However, for me to be able to use it, it needs a couple little changes." And she told me what they were. And I said, in this day and age of censorship of books, I don't feel good about changing those words. And then she says, "Well, how about this? How about we republish your book, make those few quite small changes, and call it a special edition for schools and homeschools. And I said, perfect. I'm not compromising my soul by changing it for your restrictions. And it's getting there out there in the world. And it's the perfect audience for me and for the book. So we went with that. And now it's come out. And the best thing about it is, they have a whole marketing strategy for their materials. And my book is just part of that whole marketing strategy. So, Adam, this is like such a surprise. It's like the universe, the Camino provides. I mean, that's exactly it. It provided this incredible opportunity. And then more recently, talk about surprises, and I'm not going to tell you much about this, but I was approached by a movie TV producer, and he says he wants to option the book. And that means when you option a book, when a movie person options a book, they sort of take ownership of it, they take ownership of the possibility that it could be made into a movie or a TV series. And there's no contract yet. It's not finalized. Many books get optioned, few get made into TV series or movies, but that was something that showed up. And I thought, like, oh my gosh, the Camino is providing, whether it happens or not, I don't know, but it is providing to bring this opportunity forward. So cross fingers, think good thoughts. I don't know. I'm feeling pretty neutral now, but I would love for that to happen. I would love for it would make it terrific because, it's chapter by chapter, town by town, through the Camino Frances, and maybe it could happen.
That's so exciting, Esther. I'm so excited for you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and just know it might not happen, but still, this far it's gone. Yeah.
Well, Esther, delays are not denials. Remember that.
Delays are not denials. Yes, that's right.
No, that's fabulous. Truly, it is. And I think I would like to acknowledge, on day 3 of that Camino in 2008, wouldn't it be great to have a book for kids? Look, you've got homeschooling across the United States now done out there. That's a job well done.
I know. And I just feel gratitude. I feel like it's not about me, It's really about something taken off on its own.
You know what it reminds me of, Esther? I hadn't heard before your story about how Jamie's package came to be. And you knew he would be given a package, but you didn't know what was inside of it. Like, what a beautiful metaphor. That's kind of what happened to you on day 3. You received the gift that you would give back, but you had no idea what would be in that book or the journey that lied before you or anything. So what a gorgeous metaphor that is.
It is. I had never thought of that. And that's the interesting thing about writing or anything that's sort of symbolic. You can just keep unpacking it. Other people have ideas that, I never even thought of that. And that just goes on. And it's a lot of fun. Really.
Absolutely.
And I want to say one other thing is, and this is for any of you who are involved in anything creative with regard to the Camino. And I want to define creativity to include things like conversations. I think a conversation can be a creative activity. But I had an insight about this, which is, because it was sort of a new thought. It probably won't be new to some of you, but it was a new thought to me that we want to give back. And we want to give back because we want to create a vicarious experience in the audience that leads them to the same level of appreciation and appreciation for beauty or for adventure that we have. So any creative thing, like a blog or a photograph or artwork or a book, is about giving someone else the vicarious experience that we've had. And that is giving back so that they have the experience. Have I communicated that at all? I don't know.
Yeah, I love the clarity of the purpose that's behind that, and knowing that that is the purpose that any
Yes.
creative expression serves.
And it's our attempt to enfold that person, enfold the audience in the ecstasy that we experienced.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Let's talk more about giving back in this broader sense, Esther. You've said that pilgrimage is an adventure to oneself, and pilgrimage always requires you to take the next step. So I'm thinking more like when we come back from Camino, there's a new step to be taken. Can you say more about that, those couple of expressions of yours?
Pilgrimage is an adventure into oneself. I mean, every one of us who walked the Camino, we've come up with, reveal to ourselves our fears, our distrust, our angers, all kinds of emotions. And we've also had to resolve them within ourselves because, if we stayed with them, we would never finish. And so it's an adventure into yourself because you've got to, or it's an adventure into myself because I've got to figure out how to navigate the negativity that I have generated through whatever means inside myself and move to a place where I am energized and happy. And particularly on the sort of the starkness of walking along and having a blister and sort of cursing the whole process, you have to, the adventure is, for me, was in learning how to get past this. And in one of the values I feel like I got from the Camino was this sense of I have to take deep responsibility for my own emotional experience. And that is an adventure into myself.
Do you think that speaks to giving back? Is that act of taking deep responsibility within yourself, and I guess we could say not projecting it or not blaming, do you think that that's an act of giving back?
Well, I do feel like it's a profound thing to get that giving to oneself is, in fact, an extremely valuable thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's what allows us to mature ourselves up.
Mm-hmm.
It's what allows us to problem solve. It's what allows us to be to open our intuitions to inspiration. Giving that to ourselves, I think, it's a profound act. It's not even an act. It's a profound, I don't even know
Way
what
of
word to put
being
on.
or practice?
Way of being, a way of being. It's a profound practice. Yeah. And we all know we don't mean giving to ourselves by indulging in, over drinking or something like that. That's not what we're talking about, is giving to yourself. But it's more this sense of saying, I am, as a human being, I allow myself to be as full and as joyous and as creative as I can be. And that's giving to myself.
What a gift. I knew that you would bring just an amazing level of consciousness to this conversation. And I would say you just brought it, Esther. That was really profound. Thank you.
Thank you. And it really is. Yeah, go ahead.
No, as you were speaking there, I was thinking, you know, how, yeah, the willingness of us to receive that insight of actually, I need to reflect on this blister and what can I do? In the sense, I was feeling that maybe it's the Camino that's I'm giving this opportunity to you, giving back to you the opportunity to self-reflect, to overcome and get this enlarged consciousness. So
yeah, I think that giving and receiving are really the same.
Yeah.
I think so. I think they're the same. And I also see it, and I'd be curious if you want to speak to this at all, Esther. Yes, the same. Giving has an element of receiving and vice versa. But also, are there seasons that you think that we go through where I'm going to be more, Adam calls it the seeker, I'm going to be more in receiving mode, and I'm needing to fill up. And as that fills, then it kind of turns the other direction. And now we're wanting to give back. So, and that is one of the things I wanted to bring into the conversation today, is that when we talk about how we are giving back, or ways that we've considered giving back, it may not be the season for that. We might be more in a season of giving to ourselves or receiving. Do you want to say anything more about that, Esther?
I just think that it's absolutely right, and that that you can get over the am I giving enough? Once you adopt this, or might saying, I'm not giving enough, whatever it is that you run in your head, you can get past it when you do see that you, as a divine soul, your job is to live your life bringing forth as much joy in the world, love in the world, whatever you want to call it. That is your job. And therefore, if you're receiving whatever you need to be able to do that, you are in fact giving back. I'm repeating myself.
I think that's one of those things that we could hear different ways multiple times and get the message more and more deeply. And I think what's present for me, Esther, is that joy, that the things that you're speaking about right there, those are often the things that we're finding on the Camino, that we're finding this new way to relate to other people, where we're finding the way that we take care of ourselves on the Camino so we can do the journey, where our appreciation of nature, and there's so many things, but we bring that back to the community. And as we nurture that and we become the most joyful person that we can, that is our soul participating in this beautiful dance we're all having.
Yes, yes. Very nicely said. Back at you.
How important do you think it is then that we give back or share our gifts?
In my life right now, I have to say this very carefully. I'm in close association with someone who's in a 12-step recovery program. And I have been blown away by what a good 12-step recovery program does in the world and does for the people who participate. And one of the concepts that I have learned is sort of taught or expected is that when you are going to go off track and you're fighting going off track, you're trying not to drink or use drugs or whatever, go gambling, whatever it is, the best antidote is service. And the minute that you move into service of any form, calling somebody who might be a little bit bummed out about something, or, any form of service, you begin to reestablish mastery over yourself, rather than collapsing into doing something you don't want to do. So to me, service is giving back. And so in order to have good mental health, in order to contribute to the world, in order to be creative, which I think is a divine gift, creativity, and that we all are, and we all need to engage in creative activities as much as possible. All that is related to, is a form of giving back, and what we want to bring, what at the end of our lives we want to have done with our time. I don't even know if I answered your question, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. The question was, how important do you think it is that we share our gifts? And I think you really did speak to that completely and very well. Thank you.
It's not like some of us can give back. It's something that we can all do, is it not? You know, this is archetypal. This is archetypal energy.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
Adam, can you say more about what that means for us?
I suppose my way of looking at the Camino and why we get transformation on Camino often is we bring our person from home onto Camino. So if I'm a excessive caregiver, then I bring that onto Camino, and then I might do excessive caregiving to others. I just carry on the trait. But on Camino, suddenly I'm excessive caregiver, but actually I'm not taking care of myself. You get beaten up, the blisters and everything else. And it forces you to switch into, I've got to stop taking care of everybody else, and I've got to start taking care of me. And so you're a receiver, so to speak. And that's the switch in energy. So we all have these different energies. I think you've got caregiver, warrior, seeker, provider, sage, all these different energies within us. It's just where we are in our life at a particular time. And I think with the Camino, when we go off on Camino, we get battered, pushed around. It's pushing this energy around, and that's the switch in our sort of awareness. Oh, I'm a different person now because I've jumped into a different energy mode because I have to. So that's what I mean by that. It's all, we have everything inside us. It's just seeing it and activating it.
I'm curious from either of you, do you think that it requires a certain level of maturity or state of consciousness, or can we jump in from any place?
Is it Maslow's hierarchy of needs? You know, at times in our life we're in survival modes. You know, we can't respond to some of these higher level places where we want to get to. It's just going to be the vision. I want to be there, but maybe that's the Camino. That's the journey, isn't it? It's to get out of survival mode, to get my basic needs met, and then moving up the ladder, so to speak. What do you think, Esther?
Well, I think we often have levels of maturity available to us that we don't play into, you know, and that probably it isn't all of us, because most of us have seen maturity modeled for us, and be it by a teacher, a parent, a grandparent, or whatever, whether we choose in the moment to make the best choice, which is what maturity is, right? Whether we choose in the moment to do it or not, probably we don't half the time, and we live in immaturity in those times. But guess what? That's okay too. That's totally okay too, because that may be just, you know, a rung on the ladder that I have to step on to get to the next one. And I'm a big one for, let me just let it go, rather than blame myself or anybody else. And let me return to, in the quickest way possible, to being in balance, centered, and happy to be in the world.
I love that. I want to go back real briefly, if you'll speak to this one, because I have a personal curiosity about this, Esther. You mentioned coming back and becoming a nomad and house sitting and releasing so many of your personal items and responsibilities. Do you see that in any way, shape, or form as giving back? And if so, how?
Well, yeah. And it's kind of an obtuse way to get to why it might be giving back. I believe we need many more models about how to live in the world. Yeah. I mean, we are given such a bombardment of images and ideas about how we should be in the world. You know, the businesswoman in high heels, or the businessman in a suit, or the businessman without a suit, but with a baseball cap. You know, like we're given so many images about how to be in the world that we don't see many people who live more inventively, really. You know, I am for inventive living. My time here on earth, let me like experiment and let me see what else is there. And I know full well that when I was a single mother in Philadelphia, I had to stay in my box in order to have an income to raise my child and all that. So I do know these things are time or life stage related, but at the same time, my gosh, there's so many interesting ways we could live. And when you see somebody, for example, that buys a sailboat or something and then goes around the world, you think, terrific. And if I didn't get seasick, I could do that too. You know, we just need models of people who are, I mean, our kids need models of people, adults who are living life inventively.
That's exciting to consider. I love that.
Yeah, and you know, you'll know when you've reached an age when you can really play with that. At other times you can't.
Yeah. And then my next question is about, I just know personally that Mother Gaia, Mother Earth, is something really near and dear to your heart, maybe always, and particularly perhaps now. What are ways that how are you responding to seeing those needs in the world at this time?
Me personally?
You personally.
Okay, I woke up and it was an awakening to what climate change, to what a brink we're on with regard to climate issues. I woke up at a demonstration in 2019 before the pandemic. And I didn't realize, but I heard at that demonstration, some speaker said, we've got 10 years. And I thought, 10 years? That's no time at all. We've got 10 years to turn things around. Going on from that awakening, which just, I mean, it emotionally was very disturbing to me to actually wake up and realize that 10 years was all we had. What I did was say, I need to educate myself. And we were just in 2019, we are just going into the pandemic. So what I did was invite a few people to form a climate change book discussion group. And I needed to educate myself. I don't even know what all the issues are. And of course, the more you learn, the more complex everything becomes and more interrelated everything becomes. Intersectional, I guess, is the word they use nowadays. But I'm still in that little discussion group, and we've read some very, very interesting material, books, novels, nonfiction. Once we even read we read a website. That was our reading for the 2-month period, whatever it was. So I've done that. I've also joined a number of organizations. There's a couple of organizations for elders, and I'm definitely in the elder category. And we elders control a great deal of wealth, actually, in the economy, the American economy at least. And so I'm working with those organizations in the divesting from fossil fuel funding movement. I sign petitions, practically any petition that comes across my email nowadays. You know what? I got nothing to lose. I'm going to sign this petition. And if they come after me and put me in jail, I mean, that's what one goes to. That's what I go to, at least. If that happens, so be it. And, you know, if I were, I'm in a foreign country right now, so I can't join in demonstrations because you're not allowed to as a foreigner. But I would do that if I were right now in the US, and if there were people who were walking the streets, you know, to demonstrate for something. Visiting politicians, all those things, talking to people about it. I was at a party this last weekend. And you know, afterwards, it broke my heart, one, that I didn't do anything about it. A party of all bright adults, wonderful people. And I don't think I heard one murmur of conversation about climate issues and what we can do about them. And I thought, oh my gosh. There was conversation about what we can do about changing, about banking to make more money. No, 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 please. You know, we don't have much time left. And, you know, the COP28 just finished. And I'm rejoicing about the little progress that was made, because at least that progress was made. And it was people coming together that disagreed a lot and they managed to agree. That's huge.
Yeah.
If we can do that in our daily lives, in our conversations, whatever, in America particularly, if we can at least talk and see if there's some place we overlap and then strengthen that, that would be wonderful.
Thank you for speaking to that. And earlier you mentioned showing our children, other people in the world, different ways that we can live. And I see that as way showing. And what you're doing about the climate, you're a way shower for us, because it does feel, when we look at that, it does feel like a huge issue. And what can one person do? But thank you for giving us the examples of how you're showing up that may or may not speak to us. I really appreciate that. Go ahead, Adam.
As the way shower, it takes courage to step out from the normal world, to be on your own. But perhaps what you're showing us is that in our own, each of us in our own little way, perhaps has to be courageous to embody any change that we want to make. It's not going to come by staying the same. Thank you for
Absolutely, absolutely. And if there's one thing, this is something we need to pay attention to, every one of us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Because, you know, people in Spain walking the Camino now, it's the temperature has gotten so bad that, you know, it can become a problem. And it's only going to get worse unless we shift to other things.
And what you said about being at that gathering with people, and that they were talking about how to make more money, perhaps that's because they don't know anything else. That's all they've ever been shown. That's what they think that this is about. And I'm going to use this as a little bit of a segue. I know when we asked you to come on today's gathering, one of the first things you said was, I really want other people to share how they are making a difference, how they are giving back. And so we do want to open that up to the audience at this point and come into a discussion about that. But first, let's take just a couple minutes and see if anybody has a question or comment for Esther. Go straight to the heart of the matter, but please feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself. Lynn, your hand has been up for a while. Is this a good time for you to say something, or? Okay. And then Martin, we'll go to you.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi, Esther. Thank you for your book. Thank you for your insight. It's really great to hear you speak about it. I read it and I thought it was wonderful. I'm not a young person, obviously, but no, I'm an elder like you are. But one of the things that I appreciated about what you've just spoken about, I have been a member of a 12-step program, and I continue to be. And one of the main things that they say is, if you want to keep it, you got to give it back. You have to give it away. If you want to keep it, you have to give it away. And one of the things that I have always done, and I keep talking about this, but in all of the times that I have been on Camino, I give away little charms, little shell charms. And it brings me such joy to be the giver of this little item that brings joy to other people. They love to receive it. Their faces light up. We get into conversations. I try to help when I can. And that's one way I give back. But one of the things that when I first started coming to these programs, I was thinking about trying to use my skills as a walker to try to go across the United States, trying to encourage people to recycle plastic particularly. And I was thinking about, getting a caravan and walking a lot and having a support crew and stuff like that, and trying to get people to pitch in and, clean up America, if you will. But it proved impractical for me at my age. So I had to kind of give up that idea. I have given up an awful lot of my stuff and become a nomad moving to Portugal. And today, as I was walking along, I noticed that the Portuguese don't throw away plastic either. They just throw it out, in a lot of instances. As soon as I can learn enough Portuguese, I pick up as much trash as I can and try to throw it in the receptacles. But I'm going to see what I can do to encourage particularly the young people in Portugal along my little stretch of beach to just please pick up, plastic and put it in the proper receptacle. So trying to do one little thing in my own little way and give back to the environment, not necessarily just the Camino, but I will do that every day as often as I can too. I want to see if I can volunteer for the local albergue too. But it's when you talk about giving back, you have to give back in a number of different ways. It's not just the Camino, and it's not just the Camino people. It becomes a wider issue. And I really think that that's very important, because you've learned something on the Camino. You've learned about the wider world, and you've learned about other people and their concerns and their loves and their hates and their pain. And it just, you have to try to relate in some ways. And if we've only got 10 years, let's get started now, as my idea.
Yes.
Anyway,
I totally agree.
Yeah, thank you. I think that you've pointed out a number of different things that we all need to think about very carefully and to try to give back in a number of different ways. So thank you very much. And thanks, Kathy and Adam, for these wonderful, wonderful programs. I adore them. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Lynn.
you.
Thanks, Lynn.
Always good to have you here. Martin, there you are. Okay.
Yeah, so thanks for pulling this together. Esther, it's really always an experience to hear you. I think, these conversations are always great, but whenever you join them, it's like adding a special spice on top of a meal, the MSG for Chinese food, or cayenne pepper for Southwest. It just really elevates the conversation. But I want to acknowledge sort of what we've been talking about, giving and how you've given to me indirectly. David Wyatt, some people know that I'm sort of infatuated with his words, but he talks about invisible help, and that's like the help we do not know we need yet. And it's really, a crucial part of stepping into the unknown. And I think you gave to me several times this invisible help. And back in 2021, I think you were instrumental in helping me get more confidence to be more expressive creatively. So that was really a great step for me. And again, it's not about just, giving a gift, but it's giving it back. And then I was going back through, well, actually, this has stuck with me since last year. In one of our sessions, I think it was about revealing the veil. You said something that just was really life-changing for me. You talked about having the confidence to lift the veil and share and start conversations, and not be filtering the audience for who we thought would be sympathetic to it, but basically just being able to start that conversation, whether they're receptive or not, and not to push it on them, but just to put it out there as the beginning of a conversation. And I think that's been really life-changing for me, because it's given me the confidence to go out there and say, I don't need to find people who are sympathetic. I can just say, here's what I stand for. Listen to it if you'd like. If not, that's okay. And that's just been really empowering for me. So I just want to thank you for these things because they've been really powerful for me. They've been life-changing. And I think, in the metaphor of walking Camino, they help me walk more with intention and with conviction. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And I know, Martin, through your work, you disseminate equally the vibe of invisible help. And, your artwork is extraordinary. And I just hope you get it out there even more. I'm sorry I've missed a couple things that you've done, and I look forward to recordings.
Yeah, thank you.
Martin, thanks for bringing that up, because what you're speaking to is the invisible. I just want to acknowledge every single person here, because I know there have been times in our life, like you just mentioned something to Esther. She did not know the impact in that moment that you had, which makes me teary. And you guys know I loved it. I always cry, but it's really touching. And who knows how, every single person on this call at some point or another has shown up on their path, said something, done something, been an example, been the way shower, and really made an impact. So that's just beautiful. Let's take a couple more, and then we do definitely want to make sure we leave time for this discussion. We're running late. So say Maite, and then Erin, and if you can keep it brief, that would be great.
Okay, so sure, I enjoyed your book so much. I passed it along to my teenage niece, and I hope she will pass it along to some of her cousins who are a little younger. There's so much you said today that you're hitting on the same buttons that I am. The environment, I'm guessing you're involved with Bill McKibben's third act. Yeah. And there's a lot that I would like to talk with you about. And as I'm making notes as you're talking, an environmental book club. Wow, what a cool idea. Reading Newbery literature. Wow. I have a kid's book I wrote that I never did anything with. I'm going back and I'm reading Newbery literature. You're giving me all kinds of great ideas. And so last, I just want to add on to what was just said, that it seems to me that the benefit of giving back is maybe unknown, because the people who we benefit, we may never know about, but it's still so worthwhile doing. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. You're welcome to reach out if you want to, or join our club.
I will be reaching out. Thank you.
Perfect.
So,
thanks for adding that, Deborah. Maite.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to thank Esther for the book. I would like to say something. Kathy told me that Esther wanted to give her book to me, but she didn't know why. But she think that I should read this book. And then I met Adam in Santiago, and he passed me your book. So first of all, thank you very much. And now I would like to tell you what you have given to me with this book. That is so much. I would like to share with you that in 2009, I had only 5 days of vacation. I live in Pamplona. So I decided to walk the Camino Aragon, 5 days. And then I met there 2 children and 2 adults from Germany. They were walking together. We thought that they were family, but then on the first days, the children started to shout and complaining. They didn't want to walk. So we talked. These adults told us that they were in a program in Germany, that they were walking the Camino as an opportunity for them, giving them an opportunity because they belong to a reformatory school. So the Camino was an opportunity for their lives to change.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
I can't speak German very well, but I think it worked also very well because I speak with these children in a way very clearly, very short, very simple, but trying to connect them. And when I had to go back to Pamplona, they should continue. I just bring a stone, a little stone, and I ask one of those children if he could bring this stone to Santiago for me, because I was not able to walk there. So he stopped and he looked at me and he said, like surprised that he should make something for another person. And you know what I mean? I'm sorry, my English is not very well, so very good.
It's good.
So I said, you have time to think about it. I know it's a big thing for me and for you. You can just tell me this night in the evening if you agree and so on. And that night we had a dinner together. There were the tutors, the adults were there also, and they said, okay, you can tell Maite if you agree or not, but please make your decision. This is a very important thing. So I said, yes, I would like to bring this stone to Santiago.
Oh.
So with this book, Esther, you have given to me this journey he had, you know, and
I got it.
I know what is in the envelope. This is my stone. I have not ended the book, not yet. I am in the middle, more or less. But I am enjoying so much this book, and you have given to me this part of the journey I couldn't share with them, and to complete the story. And I have to tell you that they arrived to Santiago. He sent to me a picture of this stone in the middle, Plaza do Obradoiro, and that they wanted to go back by walking again to back. So thank you, Esther. Thank you.
That's lovely. I get it. That's really a neat story that you actually asked him to take that. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maite, for sharing
Maite,
that.
yeah.
I loved I was right in the middle when Esther said, I need to get my book to Maite after Maite was our special guest. Then I saw Maite. She told me this story before reading Esther's book. And I said, oh my gosh, I know why you're supposed to have this book, because you gave somebody an envelope, so to speak.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Aaron, please.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Esther. I met Esther in 2013 on the Camino when she was researching her book. And, you know, you just continue to be such an inspiration to me about writing and also about downsizing, which I don't know if I'll ever get to where you are, but, you know, you're always in the back of my mind about keeping things simple and experiencing different ways of life. But the book that you mentioned, The Anatomy of Story, really caught my attention. And I wondered if you happen to know the author of that.
Absolutely. John, John Truby, Truby.
Okay, because I've been getting up really early in the morning and kind of doing a lot of writing. And my thing that I want to bring to life at some point is I've been working with gardens a lot, with helping a community garden here in my area, and then wanting to combine therapy with gardening somehow. And I haven't been able to get to my own plot with that. And you really caught my attention with needing a way. So that book really spoke to me when you mentioned it. So thank you for those ideas. And I just really love you.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. And well said. I am feeling it. Esther, you are an inspiration. This conversation is an inspiration. I really do feel that. And we have less time than we had intended, but what would make sense, Adam and Esther? Shall we have people put ideas into the chat? With this short time left, what do you think we should do as far as brainstorming here?
I think, Kathy, just call on everybody and let them offer. If they want to pass, they pass. If not, let them say, you know, like a minute of what they have given back or want to give back.
I love that. If you have an idea, raise your hand. That gives other people a chance to think, and you can just jump in. Ways that you are giving back, have given back, something that you'd like to do someday, but you're not really ready yet, anything. So thank you, Deborah, then David, and I'll make sure to call on everybody at some point. And then Dale, go ahead.
I'm giving back by doing a monthly newsletter, and this past year it's been on the topic of eldering, and each month done a different aspect of eldering. Next year's topic, and I'd love to have all kinds of contributions from everybody here, is on saving the world. And it's in not necessarily the big broad pictures, but in the, what we individually can do, like sharing garden produce. So it could be little things, big things, but anyway, that's felt very meaningful to me. Thanks.
Nice.
Oh, lovely.
It's a great newsletter. She's a writer, a wordsmith. It's called The Encourage Mentor. Isn't that beautiful?
Oh, great, great.
David.
Oh, yes. I think I'm in a 1,000,000-step recovery program. As the chapter coordinator for Hoosiers on the Camino, it's just really been an honor and a pleasure to, tell the story whenever I get a chance to talk, because whenever we have our coffees, it's hard for me to get a word in edgewise. But it's just great that, being involved in that. And I should say that when I came back from my first experience with the Camino, my minister asked me if I wanted to give a talk on that. And I shut her down just right then. I said, I couldn't do that. But after about 6 months passed, and I haven't been able to stop talking about it. So that's what I want. And it's a pleasure to share it.
Thank you, David. And thank you for your service. I'm going to read Liz's, and then Dale, we're going to come to you. Liz, I'm establishing a garden group with another woman in my community. Beautiful. Dale.
Okay. Oh, that's okay. Thanks. Thanks so much, Esther, for your presentation. That I have the book coming. It was supposed to be here Tuesday. Indigo here in Canada has a cyber problem, and I should have just ordered from Amazon. So thank you also, everybody, for not telling me what's in the envelope, because I'll be able to read it on Monday, Tuesday when the book finally gets here. I like what Lynn started off with a program of self-help. And this has been the meat and potatoes of me giving back to me and my friends and loved ones in the community. Because when I'm on the Camino, I'm looking at me. What is it about me that is awkward or unpleasant or makes me uncomfortable? I am associated with a addiction center for 30 years now, volunteering and administration and whatnot as a volunteer. So I'm very familiar with their 12 steps. And in those steps, this is where I get my backbone and my meat and potatoes of look at me. What about me? And so when I'm over on the Camino, it gives me the chance to look at what my relationships are with other people, what I can do to make them better, and in turn makes me more healthy. When I come back home, I'm improving that relationship with them, and I'm improving my relationship with me. It's about me. It's my character defects and my shortcomings, because I know where they are. So I can ignore them and just carry on, and people seem to be okay with them. But I want to change. I want to do something about me. My Christmas is coming up. My late mother, used to always say, "Okay, Dale, you say grace for the Christmas supper, but before you say grace, I want to remind everybody here: you're all to be grateful, you're all to be kind, and you're all to be generous." And to me, that means giving, appreciating, and giving back. Here in London, up in Canada, I'm a co-coordinator here of our pilgrim group. I've been a hospitalero in Spain 3 times. I helped training hospitaleros here in London with Tom. We have a very active group. We have a community supper that we put on at a church 7 times a year for the community. The pilgrim group does. So we are conscious of what we should be doing to give back to others for what we benefited from the Camino. And I love it. You know, it's like being on the Camino,
That's
being of
great, Tom.
service, being of service here in
Dale.
London, Canada. Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
it.
you.
Thank
Somebody else
you.
will jump in here. We're
Thank
running out
you,
of time.
Dale.
Sorry.
Sorry I called you Tom there. I got the two of you confused for a moment. And thank you for all those great ideas and the service that you're doing. Much
Mhm.
appreciated.
Mhm.
And
It helps me.
Mhm.
that's it. Yeah.
Helps them, helps me. Yeah.
I'm going to invite a few people forward all at the same time. Just jump in. Ronnie, Philip, or Jenny, do you want to say anything?
I don't know if I have much to say that hasn't already been said. I mean, like David, I'm a chapter coordinator for Okies on Camino.
Oh,
And
nice.
so we run a local chapter here, and that's been a lot of fun. And I'm actually doing the Hospitalero training before the gathering this spring. So I'm excited about that, to be able to dive into that and see what comes of that in terms of volunteer opportunities. But you know, and I've done other small things in the community, but I think right now it seems like what the focus has been service to our family a little bit. There's been some fracturing throughout my life, really, with various things that have happened within the family. And right now, I think what my husband and I are kind of focusing in on is building a nest kind of, and inviting everybody into that nest and making sure that we're, particularly I think for like kind of the next generation of that fracture, to help them have a better foundation than maybe what they had because of some of those fractures. And so that's kind of where our service mind is, I think, at the moment. So
Beautiful.
Thanks, Ronnie.
For 7 years, I've been co-hosting the Christchurch Camino group. So we meet 4 times a year, and an offshoot of that is a monthly walking group where we go up into the mountains or the local hills, or walking around the estuary and places like that. And I do a newsletter. So that's one way of giving back. But as you say, it's manyfold back the other way. You know, you learn so much. And I volunteer for the local professional theatre. It couldn't exist without, and I've done that for 42 years. I run a team. All the front of house people are volunteers. So that gives back, because I think that if we lost our theatre, that would be a huge loss to the community.
Wow. Thank you, Philip.
Wonderful.
That's beautiful. And you have so much wisdom to share. This man is an incredible man. We'll have to have longer conversations with you someday. There's a lot of wisdom in there to share.
Jenny, did you want to say anything? I saw your...
Well, I'm on a lifelong quest to be more tolerant. And in testing that for the last, how long, Adam? 3 years. I've been a volunteer at the Confraternity of St. James offices in London. And I like that people come in and I'm kind of bossy about how they should be doing the Camino. I think I am becoming a little more tolerant, quite outspoken. And I go around quite often just speaking to strangers, which often alarms them immensely. I live in a country here, UK, where people don't, I get the feeling, you know, as you walk towards somebody, they kind of look away. And I'm recently back from Australia, a place I love, my family lives there. And it's very different there. You know, people have to say hi, good day, you know, everybody's very friendly. And so I'm trying to bring that to round here, basically. Just chatting. And you know, Adam, I can be annoying. But yeah, and I think the Camino it's taught me that in a way that, you know, there's some wonderful people out there to talk to, even if it scares them.
Yes.
And
Thanks, Jenny.
Jenny, thanks. Because I think it's, you know, just a simple smile is a form of giving back, isn't it? Even, you know, just, or a buen camino on the path.
Well, we're all happy if somebody smiles at us, aren't we?
Yeah.
And you have a beautiful smile and a really warm personality. So I know that that's making a difference in sometimes dreary England.
It's so dreary now. I'm just back from Australia about 3 weeks ago, and I've got my ticket booked for the end of this month, next month, January, back to the family. And That's because I asked my husband to put the house up for sale.
Mm.
And something I never thought I'd want to follow family to, the other side of the world. And he said, no, but you know what? Why don't you just go out for another 5 weeks? I've got a little grandson out there. That makes a difference.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jenny. Sorry we didn't have time to call on each person individually. Esther, I really heard you last time about inviting people into conversation. So we tried our best to do that. And I loved all of the ideas that came forward and really acknowledge everybody for all of the great ways that you're giving back. And Esther, this has been an incredible time with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Esther.
It's really, you're providing this platform for all of us. It hasn't happened any other time that I know that this kind of place is available to share what we've learned. Thank you.
It's our joy. We love this. We feel like we've really become a community. We look forward to this each month. We're going to make a couple of announcements, and then we're going to give Esther the final word. Adam, do you want to do the announcement?
The next Wisdom Stories, is on January the 20th, and it's Rituals I Love. You say the next announcement, Kathy, because I've completely forgotten what it would be.
We're following that with Lightening the Load in February.
That was it.
Because Adam and I will be speaking at the American Pilgrims on the Camino gathering, and we're going to bring a little part of that into our Wisdom Stories in February. And we're changing it up just a little bit next year. We're changing the name, if we can remember this, from Camino Wisdom Stories to Camino Wisdom for Life. And in that, we hope we'll still continue the interactive piece of it, the storytelling, and maybe just up level a little bit in what we're trying to give as far as education, and just really bringing just a little bit more in that area. So that's coming up next year. And I believe that's all of the announcements. Thank you all for being here so much. Happy holidays. And back to Esther, is there any final words or wisdom or anything that you'd like to share with us? A story?
No, but it's something pretty simple, and we've referenced it as we've gone along, that receiving and giving are the same thing. I don't know if any of you know, she's kind of a spiritual teacher, Esther Hicks. She's very popular in a lot of circles. And one time I heard her in a live workshop say that 100% of our work on the world, 100% was learning to be more receptive. And I thought that has been an incredibly profound thing, because what it means is we allow the gifts of the universe, of spirit, or whatever term you want to use, to enter us and then flow through us out into the world in whatever form they do. So our job is to be receptive, and then things go forward almost without our noticing. So that's my closing word. We give and receive all the time. Love, light, and blessings to you all. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, everything.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Esther. You've made it so easy for us to receive today. Thank you for sharing yourself with us. If you'd like to unmute and say goodbye, please feel free, and we're going to sign off. Thank you.
Thanks,
Merry Christmas.